Path Media. I was a minimum wage movie theater usher that made good and became a top earner in my network marketing company. Now, after 16 plus years in the profession, I'm finally teaching myself how to leverage the internet with online marketing and social media marketing to continue to grow and expand my business. My name is Ronnie Cruz, and this is Path of the Network Marketer.
All right, welcome back to the show. Today is part 3. Lessons from 100 days of podcasting. All right, part 3. It's moving fast. It's moving really fast. Okay, so fundamentals. We talked about fundamentals yesterday, and that's what we're really going to dive into today. But yesterday we discussed the importance of distinguishing between a true fundamental and a strategy and tactic, right? I think, from my observation historically in this profession, things that we've called fundamentals aren't actually true fundamentals, but rather strategies and tactics. And so it's really, in my opinion, again, in my perspective, it's important to start distinguishing the difference between the two, because if we don't, then it's going to make evolution and growth and change really, really difficult, especially as we move into this digital age, because we'll be tied to things that we're calling fundamentals, but they're actually just very, very specific strategies and tactics, right? And so that's really important from that standpoint. As a profession, for the industry as a whole, we need to start really distinguishing the difference between strategies and tactics and true fundamentals. Now, on an individual level, we got to do that as well, because I think there's a natural tendency to always check out and look for strategy first, right? Look for tactic first, because we're very results oriented, right? We want the outcome now. And so we look at how we build and the things that we're learning and the skill sets that we're acquiring in terms of the outcomes that they'll create. So, we're drawn to the next shiny strategy and tactic, right? Like everything under the sun. The danger of that is if you don't know the fundamental that pins that strategy or that strategy is built on, then you could potentially have a bunch of different strategies in your marketing arm online that aren't working together, right? That's super clunky. You might double up on a specific strategy, or if you have a tactic that's already, you have two tactics that are doing the same thing, whatever the situation might be. If you don't know the fundamental that underpins those strategies, then it can be really, really clunky for a marketing funnel. So you want to build your framework on fundamentals, so that way then you can start piecing the strategies that make sense for you on top of those fundamentals, right? That creates a better flow, and your conversion rates are going to be much better. Okay, so historically, I've taught 3 fundamentals in network marketing. These are fundamentals that, in my opinion, as I've looked at them a lot, I've thought about them a lot, and they're irrefutable fundamentals. And it's super simple, right? The first fundamental is contacting and inviting, and I'll expand on this in just a second. But contacting and inviting. Number 2 is presenting. Number 3 is collecting a decision / follow-up. All right. So number 1, contacting and inviting. That's just the networking side of the fundamental, right? Like we're talking about meeting new people, growing your list, developing rapport, and then with the eventuality of offering a solution or inviting them to a presentation, right? Once you develop good rapport and you identify a problem that they're looking to solve, then you offer your company and services as a solution to that problem, right? And therefore you take them to the next step to invite them to a presentation. Now, online, what that looks like is it's exactly what we've been talking about these last 100 days, right? It's growing your audience through these online channels, whether it's short form, whether it's long form. What you're doing is you're releasing content, you're publishing content every day to grow that audience. And as you publish every day, they get to know you, they get to like you, they get to trust you. You're building that rapport. And then you have a call to action. The call to action is something that I've really started to include. If you guys have noticed on the show, I've been asking you to come check out and join our Facebook group, right? Facebook.com/group, /Path of the Network Marketer. That's a call to action. And I'm going to have many more call to actions in the future, especially when I release, the next big one is when I release the framework, the network marketing framework, a guide, right? That's coming up very soon. So eventually I'll have a call to action that'll get you to sign up for that free resource, right? It's a free guide that you can buy to help you build your network marketing business online. So it's a call to action. action, right? Like the contacting and inviting, it's building your network, it's building your audience and your following, building the rapport online with an eventuality of a call to action that leads to the next step, which is the presentation, right? Now, one specific strategy that applies to all of these fundamentals is the call to action, especially online. You want to have a call to action at the end of these, at the end of each of these fundamentals, because you want to lead them the next step down the funnel. So that's just something to think about. Presenting, super simple. Offline, it looks like a video that you can send somebody. It looks like, well, that's not offline. Let me backtrack. In the offline world, it's a home party. Home party plans still are very effective. There's a lot of high touch there. After post-pandemic, we started taking things virtually, doing Zoom presentations. The same kind of principle with home parties, but it's virtually through Zoom. So it's really simple. And then at the end of that presentation, it's your call to action. You're collecting a decision. You want to ask whether or not they want to sign up, and that leads to the next fundamental. But that's what offline looks like. With online, really, really simple. I mean, it's just, again, whether or not, if you're talking strictly of your network marketing company and the products and services, it's inviting them to your website. It's showing them a video or sending them a link, right? Sending them a web page of the specific product or service that they're looking to get more information on. So that's really simple. And I like, especially for people who are new, especially if you're brand new to online marketing, you wanna make sure that you keep this thing as simple as possible. I don't want you to have to create your own presentation before you get any of this mechanism started, right? You want to get your marketing arm and the mechanism on its feet sooner rather than later. Then you can start really tweaking as you go. So keep the presentation side simple. If you're doing things online, again, direct them to an existing website, direct them to an existing video or presentation that your company. I mean, hopefully your company has created these resources and these assets for you. And then at the end of whether or not they've looked at the presentation, it's just collecting a decision. Other things, more complex things for online marketing is you can create a free informational product that can be the presentation, right? Like if people opt in in the first fundamental, the contacting and inviting, they see a need, they see or they have a problem that they need a solution for, and you have a call to action. Oh, come get my free guide, right? This free resource, that's the presentation, that free resource, because at the end of that free resource, the free guide, you're going to want another call to action. Again, you're moving them down the line one step after the other. And so the call to action at the end of the contacting and inviting is, well, you want to take them to either making a purchase or continue to go down your funnel so that you can follow up with them. Offline, again, it's asking them whether they're ready to purchase, if they want more information, or if they're not interested, right? Generally, I leave the not interested off, and with online strategies, this particular fundamental, you don't really have to do too much as far as like, okay, are you a 1, 2, or 3? You just basically leave it up to them. You leave the option up to them, and that's why the call to action is really cool, because they decide on their own. And with each step, with each fundamental, as they move down the pipeline, you're not really doing all the heavy lifting. Your assets and your strategies are doing the heavy lifting for you. They're selecting themselves in, they're opting themselves in through your funnel to get closer and closer to an actual sale. Now, okay, so yeah, with collecting a decision and follow-up, I mean, obviously follow-up is easy. Offline is, once they've made a purchase, you just serve them as best as you can, right? If they're your customer, you want to continue giving them good service as the person that sold them and enrolled them into the business. Online, it's really, really simple. I mean, if like I said, they opt themselves in, they select themselves in every step of the way in that funnel, and so once they get to this point where they're not ready yet to make a purchase, at the very least, because of the opt-in, right? And you really want to, the eventuality is you want your funnel, your marketing funnel online to have an opt-in so that you can continue to follow up with them and develop that rapport outside of the social platforms, outside of the content that you're publishing online, right? Because the newsletter, the email list is what I'm getting to, is something that you own. It's something that you create, that you built, and then it's something that you control, right? So you eventually want to get to that, and that will really help, again, continue to serve your audience and serve your people to the eventuality of them making a purchase, right? And converting into sales. So those are the fundamentals. And again, because they're fundamentals, it applies to any specific strategy or tactic, any platform, whether it's online or offline. But again, the important thing is distinguishing the difference between a fundamental and a strategy, right? We talked about the fundamentals and then expanded on the different strategies that you can apply to those fundamentals, whether it's online or offline. So number one, contacting and inviting, that's the networking side and the developing the rapport, and then inviting, right? The call to action. And then number two, presenting. Super easy. There's 1,000,001 ways that you can present information or give information. And you know, starting off, you want it to be as least as uncomplicated as possible, right? You want to keep it as simple as possible, with, of course, another call to action for them to make a decision to either make a purchase or continue to move down the pipeline. And then number three, like I said, collect a decision or follow up, right? If they purchase there, that's great. Continue to serve them as your valued customer, or if they're not ready, at the very least, since they've opted in, the call to action to opt in, they're part of your newsletter and your email list, and you can continue to serve them, continue to develop the rapport and give value, and then to the eventuality of creating a sale. So that's it. Fundamentals. Again, one of the biggest lessons in these last 100 days is making the distinction between the two, right? Between a true fundamental, and a very, very specific strategy and tactic. So that's going to do it for today's episode. More to come from tomorrow, the series, and more to come from me tomorrow. The series is going to keep rolling on with part 4. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.